Seng Bank said to be cutting its workforce by 10 to 50%. China and the U.S. start rolling back their tariffs. And Trump announces big business deals during his visit to Saudi Arabia. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. Sources say Seng Bank is cutting its workforce by 10 to 50% across several departments. Staff that have not been fired are required to reapply for their roles. A spokesperson for the bank did not deny the report, stating Seng often reviews and makes adjustments to its operations in accordance with the business environment. Timothy Lee has more.
Reports say Seng Bank began a gradual cross-department cut of its workforce starting in March this year. The affected departments are set to include back-office support, corporate strategy, IT, and corporate communications. Most divisions reportedly experienced a cut of 10 to 20%, while certain departments saw around half their staff being laid off. Individuals affected by the measure include those in senior management, while those who remain in the company must reapply for their positions. This, as the Hong Kong Banking Employees Association criticized the move as damaging to the morale of the bank's personnel. The labor union's vice chairman said many of the bank's staff have spent more than half of their lives with the company, and emphasized the negative impact Seng's measures will have on inter-staff relations. Despite the bank's mass layoffs, employment websites continue to indicate more than 80 available positions at Seng, including departments such as marketing, data analysis, and customer service. A Seng spokesperson responded to TVB's inquiries about the current situation, saying the company is simply adjusting to the ever-changing business environment, stressing the bank often reviews its operations to improve its staff's technical skills and business structure. Speaking about Seng Bank's reasons for the massive cut in manpower, economist Yu Mai-Ki believes the bank is dealing with the effects of global economic uncertainty. He noted many businesses are not seeking to expand, but rather lower expenditure and replace paid staff with technology. Meanwhile, some in the human resource management sector urge residents to take the initiative to improve their technical skills to make sure they don't get outpaced by AI. Adding the technology is likely to overtake many other jobs. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
China and the U.S. simultaneously started adjusted bilateral tariffs from midday in an effort to de-escalate trade tensions. U.S. President Donald Trump noted that he might engage in direct communication with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping to nail down the details of the trade agreement. Danny Zhou has the story.
As per Monday's joint statement issued by both governments, the Customs Tariff Commission of China's State Council officially announced tariff cuts on important U.S. products to 10%, down from the previous 34%. In lockstep with Beijing's announcement, American levies on Chinese goods, which ran as high as 145%, have dropped to 30%. The new duties are effective from 12:01 p.m. today for an initial period of 90 days. A White House executive order on Monday has cut the de minimis tariff on small packages priced up to $800 imported from China to 54%, or $100 per package, also started today. According to Bloomberg News, Chinese authorities have decided to lift a reported ban on domestic carriers and government agencies taking delivery of Boeing jets, following the breakthrough in trade talks. This after at least 3 Boeing planes meant for Chinese airliners were returned to the United States in April. Before departing for Saudi Arabia, Donald Trump told Fox News that one of the things that could be most exciting for both sides is that China is trying to fully open its markets. Trump added that he can see himself talking directly with President Xi on the trade deal specifics, though he's not sure that it will be necessary. His decision to walk back his Liberation Day tariffs offers a temporary respite for American consumers. A Reuters Ipsos poll this week indicated a slight rise in Trump's approval rating. About 44% of respondents approved of the president's performance, up from 42% in a prior survey late April. Approval of Trump's economic stewardship rose to 39% from 36%, while concerns about recession still remain high. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump kicked off his trip to the Gulf by announcing a $6 billion commitment from Saudi Arabia to invest in the U.S. The U.S. also agreed to sell Saudi Arabia an arms package worth nearly $142 billion. Meanwhile, Trump met with Syria's new president on the sidelines of the Gulf Cooperation Council U.S. summit in Riyadh after a surprise announcement that Washington would lift all sanctions on Syria's Islamist-led government. Daniel Rao reports.
Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi de facto ruler, announced a $600 billion investment deal with Washington as he hosted U.S. President Donald Trump in Riyadh. The Crown Prince said the growing partnership is an extension of multiple cooperation in the military, security, economic and technical fields. The pair signed a host of economic and bilateral cooperation agreements. The U.S. agreed to sell Saudi Arabia an arms package worth nearly $142 billion, according to a White House fact sheet that called it the largest defense cooperation agreement Washington has ever done. The agreement covers deals with more than a dozen U.S. defense companies in areas including air and missile defense, air force and space advancement, as well as maritime security. The White House did not mention if Riyadh would be permitted to purchase Lockheed's F-35 jets, the military aircraft that the kingdom has reportedly been interested in for years.
Likewise, in Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see in Syria. They've had their share of travesty, war, killing, many years. That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade.
Trump said the efforts to thaw tensions with Syria came at the urging of Mohammed bin Salman and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The developments were a major boost for al-Sharaa, who led the overthrow of his country's former leader Bashar Assad last year. The new Syrian president under the nom de guerre Abu Muhammad al-Golani had ties to al-Qaeda and joined insurgents battling U.S. forces in Iraq before entering the Syrian war. He was even imprisoned by U.S. troops in Iraq for several years. Washington has been weighing how to handle al-Sharaa since he took power in December. Gulf leaders have rallied behind the new government in Damascus and will want Trump to follow, believing it is key to counter against Iran's return to influence in Syria. Iran had helped prop up Assad's government during a decade-long civil war. Daniel Rao, TV News.
Washington has restricted anyone, anywhere in the world from using Huawei's artificial intelligence chips, renewing its crackdown on the Chinese tech giant. The U.S. Bureau of Industry and Security on Tuesday laid out new guidelines on chips for AI applications. Among these was a warning that using Huawei Technologies' Ascend chips anywhere in the world without a license is a violation of the U.S. export controls. The Trump administration issued guidance to clarify that Huawei's Ascend processors were subject to export controls because they almost certainly contained or were made with U.S. technology. Meanwhile, the U.S. Commerce Department announced it will rescind and replace the AI diffusion rule implemented by the Biden administration, a policy that restricted the export of U.S.-made AI chips. The leaders of China and Brazil have pledged to jointly defend a multipolar world order amid the Trump administration's tariff blitz. The two sides issued joint statements on elevating their partnership and resolving the Ukraine crisis. President Xi Jinping hosted his Brazilian counterpart, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who's on a 4-day state visit to China. During their talks, Xi called for further cooperation and strategic mutual trust in consolidating the foundation of bilateral community with a shared future. Xi stressed that as two important powers of the global South, China and Brazil should make efforts to improve global governance while maintaining the international economic and trade order. Lula said both nations are determined to unite their voices against unilateralism and protectionism. Xi and Lula oversaw the signing of 20 deals covering areas such as development strategy alignment, the digital economy, mining, and sustainable nuclear energy. As China continues to build bridges with South America, President Xi Jinping welcomes Colombia to the Belt and Road Initiative, while she also met with the leader of Chile. Colombia announced they would become part of BRI ahead of the meeting. Xi told his counterpart, Gustavo Petro, intensive talks over the last 12 months have made it possible. The BRI, in its 12th year, aims to recreate the ancient Silk Road and build on Chinese trade and infrastructure links globally. China is Colombia's second largest trading partner after the U.S., with Beijing already surpassing America in other Latin American countries such as Brazil and Peru. China is also the largest importer to Chile, a member of the Belt and Road, and the president of that South American nation, Gabriel Boric, was in Beijing for talks as well. She welcomes high-quality Chilean products to enter the Chinese market and thinks the two countries can grow ties in many areas, including green minerals, polar exploration, and AI. Still ahead, Hong Kong's construction sector encouraged to seek business opportunities in Kuwait. And a plan to extend trials of autonomous vehicles to the urban area of Tongcheng. Welcome back. Today marks the final day of Chief Executive John Lee's tour in the Middle East, during which he met with senior business and political representatives from Kuwait at a luncheon. Speaking at the event, the CE said his delegation has jointly signed memorandums for 24 projects with its Kuwaiti counterparts.
The agreements cover a broad range of collaboration, from trade and the economy to investment promotion, financial services, aviation, and the maritime industries. This will create smoother, more convenient international links for our respective companies, making it much easier to do business together.
Lee noted Hong Kong has seen a surge in development of green finance in recent times and suggested that the city can offer support to Kuwait in this sector. The Persian Gulf nation of Kuwait has been increasing efforts to develop infrastructure and housing in recent years, with the Hong Kong Trade Development Council suggesting that local representatives of the construction sector seek opportunities in the Middle Eastern country. Some in the relevant sectors stressed they could break into the Kuwaiti market jointly with state-owned enterprises. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Located in the Gulf region bordering Iraq and Saudi Arabia, Kuwait boasts the size of just 18,000 square kilometers, similar to that of Beijing. To many people in Hong Kong, their knowledge of Kuwait primarily stems from memories of the Gulf War in the 1990s. But putting the historical conflict aside, Kuwait contains a treasure trove of natural resources, most notably its more than 100 billion barrels worth of oil reserves. That's around 10% of all oil reserves on the planet, with more than half of all industries in Kuwait linked with petroleum. Like many of its neighbors, Kuwait is trying to reduce its reliance on fossil fuels and diversify its economy. Outlined in its Kuwait Vision 2035 development plan, Kuwait City has earmarked $6 billion for developing infrastructure and housing. Irina Fan, the director of research at the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, said many Kuwaiti businesses have noted they may require consultation services for a lot of their projects. She added that Hong Kong should take advantage of this, given the Kuwaitis' high approval of the SAR's construction sector. Local architect Ho Man Yu, who is part of Chief Executive John Lee's delegation to the Middle East, said Hong Kong's construction sector should seek cooperation with state-owned enterprises in the mainland when offering services in Kuwait. He added that the mainland's construction technology has surpassed that of Hong Kong in recent years, and it would only benefit the local sector to engage in this joint effort. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Legislative Council had earlier passed a legal amendment on the protection of the Harbour Ordinance that relaxes a general ban on reclamation in Victoria Harbour. The Urban Renewal Authority, or URA, said the change in law provides feasibility and development opportunities for improving the harborfront areas. The body brought up the idea of developing the To Kwa Wan waterfront, which could be created as a Victoria Cove area and comparable to the likes of Darling Harbour in Sydney. Samantha Lee tells us more.
The government has been committed to the development of the harbourfront on both sides of Victoria Harbour. But on the Kowloon side, physical gaps still exist along the harbour. In To Kwa Wan, there are bridges that hinder connectivity between Kai Tak and Hong Kong. So what do the residents think? This woman said it would be more convenient to go straight onto the promenade. She believes she can enjoy some fresh air while walking along the seaside. A few days ago, the Legislative Council passed an amended law that allows small-scale reclamation of 0.8 hectares or less in Victoria Harbour. Applicants can propose erecting specified structures, such as piers and observation decks. URA Managing Director Wai Chi Sing wrote on his official blog that the new legal framework removed restrictions for harbour enhancement. He said the authority has been looking into the creation of a Victoria Cove area, which covers nearly 800 hectares of land and sea stretching from Hong Kong to Kwun Tong. He pinned hopes on a shoreline becoming a cove area that integrates leisure, tourism, commerce and residential facilities. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The government plans to expand trials of autonomous vehicles to the urban areas of Tung Chung. However, some district councillors expressed concerns about safety and potential traffic congestion. Authorities say no accidents have occurred during previous trials. They expect the autonomous vehicles to begin operation in the coming 1 to 2 years. Samantha Lee tells us more.
Next month, 3 autonomous vehicles will be seen running on this section of road in Tung Chung between 1 to 5 before dawn and again from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. The trials will be carried out near residential areas. The driverless vehicles will have no passengers and travel at speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour. This Tung Chung resident said she runs road in an autonomous car in Shenzhen, so she is not afraid of them. This man said driverless vehicles have the potential to malfunction, so it is better to gain more data from testings before putting them into use. Last year, the government allowed 10 autonomous vehicles to operate on specified road sections in Chek Lap Kok for testing purpose. The authorities said no accidents happened during the trial. However, some district councillors expressed concerns about the safety and stability of the driverless cars. Tung Chung District Councillor Lau Chin Pan said many construction works are underway in the community, where plenty of plastic water barriers are set up. He believed the Transport Department should closely monitor the trials and deploy backup operators in case the machines veer out of control.
There is a lot for us to do. Despite having a robust transport network, we need to make sure that for the first or the last mile of the journey, good connection is provided. And I do think that autonomous taxis can plug this gap.
She added autonomous vehicles can run from the Science Park and the University Station sometime in the future. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
It's the annual breeding season for Hong Kong's herons, with many of the coastal birds seen at the Tai Po Waterfront Park. We leave you with pictures of this spectacle of nature. See you tomorrow.